But they've been hitting it off and being able to take wins off that.
Yeah, well, we'll see if they can find success here. Raz, thank you so much for joining us at the top of the show. We're going to be getting into pick and ban here, and Raz will join us afterwards to break down the match. Now, Qiao Gu, with side priority, have actually elected to go blue side first, so they've got something new to show us on this patch 7.6, as they have been lately sticking towards red side. Already you can see 2 jungle bans out towards Bangi, and then of course Camille and Rengar still being stricken away from Kabe and Clit.
Yeah, and Bangi's only really been able to play Ivern 3 times so far. It's banned from him more than he actually gets to pick it, which shows how impactful he can actually be when he gets the champion. So rightly so, they take it away from him. And a couple of other interesting bans as they're running through it is LeBlanc away from Doinby. One of the better builds now that he innovated and actually started to run a little bit too early in the LPL was the Lichbane Gunblade build.
Yeah.
We're starting to see more and more of it.
Unfortunately, not going to get to see it this game as Qiao Gu continue to pressure out Bangi's pool. So it's Ivern, Graves, Rengar banned away, and Elise first picked. Huge priority in the LPL in 7.5.
Definitely, and does pretty well into Kha'Zix also, which is where you'd expect your opponent to go. However, Olaf is good into Elise, and so we'll have to see how they play it out when they pick their jungle, but obviously you don't want to pick that just yet.
Yeah.
And these champions are up.
Ashe and Lulu locked in for the bottom lane, so Vici once again setting up Endless and Hatong for success.
Absolutely, we mentioned the Ashe already before champion select, and we see it first rotated, so once again, if you've done your homework, QG, you know that we're going to pick the Ashe, and we see how they respond.
Yeah, immediately a Nautilus for some knock-up and hooks if you can find that Ashe out of position. There's a lot of kill threat. And if they pair it up with a Varus, that could be a great setup.
And there's a chance that the Nautilus can also be flexed, rotating it this early towards the support position. So definitely a possibility from the side of QG. We have to watch what they do, though, through the next ban phase. It may well indicate that.
Yeah, we're seeing the AD carry, jungle, and top for Qiao Gu. Looks like Bangi will return towards Lee Sin in the jungle. Now, Vici Gaming, they can pressure either the support pool for Deceit, the new support player for Qiao Gu, or try to whittle down Doinby's champion Ocean.
So they should get rid of the mid lane champions. They have the last pick or the first pick, whichever they would prefer here, Vici, for the middle lane. So you're expecting perhaps a Karma with the Victor as the 2 bans of choice. Of course, you've got the Lulu, so you can take away the other wave clear oriented bottom lane support choice if the Nautilus is the top laner.
Yeah, we'll see what the next one's going to be as Vladimir is banned away from EasyHoon, so Doinby not foolish enough to disrespect the power that EasyHoon brings on that. And Jace now going to be banned away from Qiao Gu. Sort of that AP jungler could set it up for a little bit of success later on, so we'll see what Qiao Gu decide to punish. Looks like it's 4 mid lane bans as Orianna rounds things out.
Yeah, taking away the Jace we saw from Doinby recently actually played incredibly well. You don't often see him play Jace as a champion of choice, but the one time he did, it was absolutely berserk. Enough to take out Team WE.
Yeah.
Which says a lot. So again, mid lane, primary focus. I would expect that EasyHoon actually last rotates it either way. There you go.
Yeah, so again, saving that counter pick for EasyHoon. They want to set him up for success, but there is a lot going on for Vici's composition right now that sets them up for a lot of victories if they can sort of find that final linchpin to close things together. Whereas Doinby gets to take Talon in the mid lane to try to tear it apart.
I mean, he's not going to have a counter pick. He's on blue side. He's into a Lulu and a Shen. And he's picked Talon. Blind.
Yes.
There are very limited reasons as to why I would go for this besides having to assassinate the Ashe and or the mid lane and knowing what the matchup is going to be if he's trying to predict it. But EasyHoon has deep enough pockets that I don't think he's predicted it.
Yeah.
Doinby is just feeling confident.
And this is sometimes a problem that we see out of Qiao Gu, where every once in a while they like to try things that most teams wouldn't. For example, Kled mid or a Tank Akali mid. Usually it's Doinby who's leading things out, but with that final pickup, it's going to be Talon into Talia in the mid lane. I can sort of see some potential for this. They've got a lot of pick. They've got assassination if they can find someone out of position.
And laning is okay. They do have a pick composition, I agree with you. They also have the Braum Nautilus combo, so when they actually group up as a 5-man, what this means by having a Braum is that your Nautilus can flank, or you can actually have multiple people flanking, because you've got a tank in the support position to protect the rest of your team. It will do quite well into the Ashe arrows, into the Lulu, as well as even Lee Sin. You know, blocks a lot of stuff from the side of Vici. So Braum's a decent pick. Laning phase won't be all that simple. So I would expect when we watch QG actually play the early laning phase, we follow where Clid goes. There's a real chance he just targets bottom straight away.
Yeah, what better way than to introduce your new support player into the LPL by just constantly ganking that lane and giving him a clear road to victory, a clear path to follow, because he's certainly going to be needing it up against the likes of Endless and Hatong on their two champions that they've been seeing so much success on, that Ashe and Lulu. So the pressure is on. Qiao, one best of 3 away from claiming the 3rd playoff spot in Group B. Vici Gaming need a win here. Even if they lose, they're still in the running, but it is getting close.
And I really want to highlight the Taliyah pick actually from EasyHoon before we even get into this game. Now the reason that I want to talk about Taliyah is it matches the wave clear of the Talon, and you can also side lane. So Talon may want a 1-3-1, may want to split push, and send the Nautilus with a banner of command to one lane, and then send the Talon to the other, but Taliyah can handle that. Taliyah also has the ultimate, the Weaver's Wall, that can actually traverse terrain, also has the ability to walk next to the terrain and just be quicker. I really do like the Taliyah pick here from EasyHoon, because he's aware that he needs strong laning, but he also needs to be able to go to a side lane if it comes to it, and if you play someone like Twisted Fate, you're more risk-averse where you may die.
Yeah. And we have seen Vici Gaming traditionally, despite the fact that they have been a little bit lower in the rankings, have a strong early game. Their laning phase, more often than not, isn't terrible. They're able to come out even if not ahead. It's transitioning toward the mid game where they have historically been seeing trouble, which has lately been remedied. So we'll see if this pattern continues or if Qiao will transition us into a little bit more of an exciting mid-game and try to put Vici Gaming down as we load onto the Rift for game number 1 between Qiao and Vici.
And amusingly, that is almost counterintuitive of Vici as a team. You've got EasyHoon in a team composition of players actually built around EasyHoon. He's a mid to late game player. He's always charged up and just been incredible when you hit late game. Yet Vici seem to be performing better in the early game right now and starting to lose it as the game goes on. Up until last week. And I feel like what we saw of Vici last week is closer to their ceiling as a team. If they can work out their early game, continue to be good there, they might be able to find that team fighting mid game around their mid lane.
Yeah, that certainly is a lot of hope. But they're going to have to do it against Talon, Elise, Nautilus, Varus, and Braum. There is a lot of pick.
There's a lot of pick, but if they're behind, if QG is behind, it's very easy to beat them out. Talon doesn't do a whole lot if he's falling back and doesn't do a lot of damage. Elise, less impactful, much less impactful when falling behind. And tanks, you know, it goes without saying, if they're not up with the tempo, they lose it.
Yeah. We'll certainly keep an eye on that, as it looks like a very nice red leash for Clid. He's not even going to finish off his Raptor camp to take this red buff. So very fast start from him. Meanwhile, you saw Kabe disappearing out of vision, heading towards the top side to see if Bengi was going to start on red or Raptors. Bengi actually just warded and very creatively headed down bottom.
Good poke from EasyHoon. But yeah, this is really interesting. The I'm going to say EDG-inspired jungle pathing from Clid here and from QG as a team. We have seen this once before last week, and that's why I say EDG-inspired. It was by them. And we have to watch now how he goes, because it accelerates your clear timing by up to 10 seconds. It's a full extra camp cleared, and he can go immediately to top lane before wards are placed. He could even look mid lane before wards are placed, because the timing, I mean, it's 240 right now if he chooses.
Yeah. He is level 3, but so far seems to be focusing on clearing as he heads on over to the Direwolf camp. You can see Bengi clearing out at his own side, running a little bit low on health because he doesn't have regen from red buff, but we'll keep an eye on where he decides to head after this, as, again, Endless and Hatong take a very early laning advantage.
And this is a massive CS advantage, to be clear. 13 or 14 to 4. There's a lot of minions that will crash, but it's also pressure now on that side of the map. So Bengi does have free reign of the jungle, and what we are going to see from Clid, you would imagine, is actually some kind of either level 4 rush, which he did, and then invade, or level 4 recall back to bottom and gank. It's about preference now. If he gets here, though...
Yeah, he's sneaking in a full level ahead. He's going to have to make it around the wall, as currently Bengi has pulled the red buff over. He will spot EasyHoon.
Okay.
That was optimistic.
That was... You know what? He had the right idea.
He did.
He went to the red buff. Bengi was doing the red buff. EasyHoon had warded. Now, to be fair, Taliyah has cleanse. Even if he hit the cocoon, he may have got the summoner, but we don't really know. So nothing happens. Kind of unfortunate that what was promising meant nothing.
Yeah, we'll see if he can try to take an advantage of that early setup. First recall gets him that tracker's knife, so focusing on vision early on instead of any sort of mobility setup. And first recall out of Bengi, we'll see if he does the same as, again, Endless and Hatong, just forcing Alone and their new support Deceit to miss these out. He got chunked out. EasyHoon's actually trading rather well, but it's Corrupting Potion against one biscuit left for EasyHoon.
Yeah, now Clid is looking once again. There's no point.
Yeah, burns the cleanse, so he gets that, and even drops a ward for emphasis.
Yeah, I was going to say there's no point flashing for it, but he did it anyway, and I believe this is just enough pressure to give Doinby a recall. Now he goes Corrupting Potion, and he's playing Talon into Talia, so he will lose lane early. He will 100% get pushed in. It's about the second purchase, or the first recall and then farming. What can he do closer to level 6? Same thing applies bottom lane. Not having a great time, still farming adequately, and the question is more around when they get their big spells, they get perhaps ultimates or some jungle pressure down there, can they make the plays? And that's why we're highlighting Cleared. And we're waiting to see something from Bengi himself as, hello.
He's managed to tag Endless, who's super low. Alone is trying to play back behind Hatong, and that's actually a ward as the junglers meet in the river. But without jungler interaction, the bottom lane diffuses only to exhaust Spurn.
Yeah, Bengi actually wards the bush and finds Clit in there, and the junglers really just diffuse each other. And you can see the 2v2 strength out of a Braum if there's ever the threat of a stun. You know, jump on a minion, lock down a carry, and it's just too easy, especially against an Ashe. She wants to keep you at an arm's length, and if you cross that, then you've always got the inside track and destroy her health. This is good from QG to get that recall. Now, we already mentioned mid going back to base, also very handy. Top has push priority, and Clid's not ganking as much as he is just fighting Bengi at the same time. He's doing a happy medium of both, and Bengi has done nothing.
Yeah. So far, he's got a vision onto the Raptors, giving vision of Clid, but in a pick composition, that might as well be enough because we haven't seen anything happen just yet. Doinby continuing to catch these minions in the mid lane, going straight for a Hex Drinker, and EasyHoon taking it nice and safe with the Seeker's Arm Guard. Other than that, first recall looks like Kabe completes his own first buy as, ooh, that's a bit aggressive there, Doinby.
Yeah, no, nice dodge though. He's able to do things like this, and you know, that kind of play will get most mid laners killed, but simply because he is Talon, he'll be okay. He's also looked at the matchup, right? Talia goes back, gets a Seeker's Arm Guard, no potions. That is actually lane suicide, so Doinby plays that very clever, even though it looked poor, because he has a Corrupting Potion to none.
Oh, what timing. Clid and Deceit will catch Hatong. They managed to get the stun procced. He's going to flash over the wall, and Doinby cannot follow. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, he used that to get away from Bengi. Could have meant the kill, doesn't. And QG, though, one step ahead, it seems, of Vici at this stage of the game. Deceit, by no means looking bad.
Yeah. Just pairing up with Clid, perhaps that shot calling has been shifting around for Qiao and is allowing them to continue with these strategies. Clid continuing to farm it up in the jungle. He's still spotted out at his Raptor camp as he clears red when it respawns. But other than that, we haven't seen too much excitement this early on, as it's just been rather effective laning phase and Bengi keeping track of where Clid is. And you can see when he doesn't, the sort of threat that poses.
Yeah, we have seen Elise get her eye in on a couple of ganks perhaps towards the middle lane, but things are rather calm overall. When you look at both of these teams playing it out, it's not surprising to look at a Vici game and say that something is calm in the early game. But QG, you can never really tell. You would expect perhaps something more from them. Yet we've looked at their team composition. We've acknowledged it's quite all right to do nothing until level 6 and then look. But then you're giving opportunities to Vici. And I wonder if QG have considered that. Talia being 6, Lee Sin being 6, Shen being 6, even Ashe. Like, that team composition is just powered up.
Yeah, they've got some very strong abilities. Unfortunately for them, no excuses to fight this early on. Cloud Drake is the first one, so pretty low on that priority list, unless they were to try to get some sort of opportunity and find a pick themselves. But again, Doinby, you can see he's meeting up with Clid in the jungle. They could try to look for a play up top, or just set up on the red buff as it spawns.
Yeah, good timing, invading for red. However, Bengi, I would say one step ahead actually is not. As I don't know what just happened there. He's diving top lane, but Clid isn't.
Yeah, Kabe trying to clear out these minions. They will proc the ultimate. Block zone does it a little bit for long, but it is not enough. First blood goes to Clid as Kabe just casually saunters off.
That's a bit awkward because Clid wanted the red buff. then Doinby was like, no, I'm pretty sure we're diving top lane, buddy. Where are you going? And it actually works out successfully, but Vici are responding in the middle lane. So now it becomes a battle for turrets, where I'm pretty sure QG win this from the teleport if he can stop it.
Kabe's there. He needs to clear out the minions.
Bengi may
Turning
die.
onto Bengi. He's just auto-attacking. Misses the hook, and that's stand united on Bengi. Suddenly, Kabe's overextended. Flashes the Shadow Dash to walk away with his life. But EasyHoon follows it up, rides that wall to catch up with the walking turret of Nautilus. He continues to follow up. Bengi comes in for revenge, and Kabe gets a kill. He's actually forcing EasyHoon back, who decides to finish things off with spells instead of autos.
That was super awkward. Kabe just has the shield coming up from Courage of the Colossus at the right time.
Yep.
It actually gets enough health to trade for Bengi. You would have to imagine the Lee Sin did not need to go in there, but he did. Just Bengi things this time around. So there is a turret trade. I actually didn't see which one got the first turret. Everybody. Like, there are situations where using your ult on EasyHoon and forcing a Zonias is actually still valuable towards getting your team kills either way. So at the end of the day, it's a nice preventative measure in certain circumstances.
As it is, though, that prevents this bottom side of the map. They're looking for Cloud Dragon. Just outside of the vision of Vici Gaming. EasyHoon races down there, but Clid is already down there as well. The fight is forced as they turn onto the Zeet. This is the time to show, can he play with the rest of Qiao as he just hops over the wall and leaves his AD carry, who's totally fine.
Yeah, so nobody actually goes down. EasyHoon doesn't even follow the wall. Doesn't have a lot of mana to his name for what it's worth, so it was more of a blocking them off. As fortunately, that's the first ultimate we've seen wasted to very limited avail. QG didn't even use a summoner. They just walked it out.
Very calm reaction from Qiao, not panicking at all. Understanding the threat of a Zhonya's Hourglass first EasyHoon and double longsword Vamp Scepter on Endless. So he's not going to do a lot of damage.
To be fair, the biggest thing as to why they live down there is just because QG are at the ready. You know, like Clid was there. EasyHoon is well and truly should not be doing that. Doinby's just scared of Bengi. But yeah, the fact that, you know, Clid's always at the right place at the right time. You've seen him chunk out Bengi by himself already. He's always running around the map with full health and enough impact to really scare people off. He's able to deter that.
So despite a sort of patient early game, we're seeing Qiao still go back to the same strategy, though this is a pick composition a little different for them. Gank Kabe top, try to take that first turret. Vici respond by taking mid turret. And then in Vici's play that they tried to answer with by ganking bottom, Qiao just casually turn around and walk away, understanding their power points, their ability to fight back as Clid is now turning onto Rift Herald.
Yeah, he can afford to take this. Also, Elise, for those who are now watching, one of the best champions to take it. Use your Spiderlings so you can hit the eye. You can actually solo it successfully, but it seems like QG don't have anything better to do. If you're doing V, who farms that mid wave at your turret? Doesn't matter. Get yourself the Rift Herald. I've no doubt he'll be probably the one that picks it up. That's why he's there.
And yep, there it is. Glimpse of the Void.
Typical. Missed 6 minions for that.
For Doinby on Talon, totally worth. The extra bonus damage and damage reduction on a Talon?
And Clid's up there.
Yeah. Trying to look for some follow-up.
Yeah.
So does this give us some more insight? Is this actually going to be split push Doinby as Kabe uses his ultimate on the long? They follow up with some good damage. He's pretty tanky for Shen and uses flash to get out of there. Clid holding aggro. Kabe flash autos, tries to follow up, block.
That's adventurous.
Yeah, Kabe's going real deep, but here comes EasyHoon following up with Bengi. He's almost got the Weaver's Wall. It's just about to come off of cooldown, but they've now spotted this out. Kabe teleports.
He should be out.
He's just outside of vision of Long. Oh, no.
And the Weaver's Wall blocked him off as well, so they get the Ashe ultimate actually in Doinby.
Oh, Doinby eats an arrow. He's still got his ultimate, though. Tries to turn it around and leaps over
out.
the wall. Is barely able to survive the auto attack. Sub 10 HP flash from Hutong.
Flashes over the slow, so Hutong picks up the kill. Doinby, you already mentioned, gets hit by an Ashe arrow.
Yeah.
So they do lock him down successfully. And Vici making plays in more than one area of the map. I really like the whole cross-map transition as a team. Bottom lane goes mid lane goes top. Everywhere is a position of power that is one lane away from each other. There's no cross-map rotation available from QG. They try to chunk down the bottom lane turret, but they don't successfully pick it up just yet. So
yeah.
So far, so good, actually, I would have to say, from Vici and QG, but nothing exceptional, really.
Yeah. Still very slow. This isn't the 10 out of 10 Qiao Gu that we saw last week against WE, so perhaps returning back towards that middle tier, that average Qiao Gu, though we know the bar can be raised if they want to, whereas Vici, they're just still struggling to bring their bar up to chest height.
But they're happy right now with the state of this game. Look at the farm difference in the mid lane. Also recognize Easyhoon has an extra kill, so he is significantly further ahead of Doinb. Right now, the Talon goes for a Rift Herald, misses farm in mid lane, has actually suffered to the fate of a Flash Hatong. And he's just grouping with his team constantly. He was there for the first blood, you know, he's there to try and make these things happen. But Vici is sitting back and they're trading. It's the WE effect. They're not getting that just yet unless they tank it.
I mean, they're certainly trying.
Doinb's
there. He actually went for Black Cleaver before finishing off Lethality, so perhaps a little bit of a different style Talon. As mid lane crashes and bounces, you can see Kabe went to hold it. He leaps over the wall to make his way top to catch up with Long and Vici Gaming. Looking to catch Qiao Gu as they rush back towards mid, but they take the smart path and walk down lanes.
And this is 1 minute till Infernal Drake also. Vici every single right to be pushing in this aggressively. Of course, Bengi by himself, just aware of the fact that QG had pushed bottom. They've gone back to base or they're MIA, and he's safe to do all of this. So pushing in now. They want to get the Infernal Drake, pretty obvious. QG is the team we now look towards. There's vision set up against them. There's no tempo around the Drake pit. They need to clear the vision. Can they do it as a team, or does Deceit go a little bit too ham by himself?
Yeah, it's time to see. He's about to meet up with Doinb. Clid looks to be following up top lane and invades instead. Looks like Qiao Gu seemed content to trade that vision in the river and that bottom lane for pressure on this mid-tier 1. Endless and Hatong are pulled back, which means they leave bottom undefended. Looking to dive long again. Cocoon follows up. There's no block zone. The arrow misses. There he goes, blocking a little bit of these hits. Is it enough, though? He's actually getting some damage, and Hatong shows up in time. Clid is forced to leave as Doinb gets ejected from the fight.
Bengi kicks him out. Vici, for no particular reason, are very much cognizant of the fact that their top lane's being killed again. And because he's so tanky, they're able to get there in time, no problems at all. I am a little bit perplexed by what QG are doing right now. Why is Clid focusing the Shen when a Nautilus can prevent him from teleporting? They have such a good 4v4 composition between the Braum and 3 damage dealers. They're not utilizing it yet.
Ooh, they're going to try to force something onto Endless. Flash Cocoon finds the minion, but the knockup will lock him down, and Stand United is now used. Again, Qiao Gu try a play and are summarily dismissed as Easyhoon races in, cutting off the escape path and forcing them into the choke, upon which Endless picks up 1 and turns it into 2.
And once again, Vici, when they make the plays, as slow and as calm as they are far more successful than their opponents of Qiao Gu right now. And this is really promising stuff from the Vici roster as a whole at the moment. Easyhoon's on form again.
Yeah. It seems like just very slow, patient play from Vici Gaming. They kept an eye on Clid early on. When they didn't, they were able to dismiss most of the plays, but now they're making plays of their own and finding success. Again, Clid shows up top with Kabe. That's still a full health Shen.
Pick another lane, man. Get out. I don't even know why he went there in the first place. He should just be recalling.
Yeah, maybe trying to look for some greed. Doinb now split pushing.
Speaking
he should have seen that Squire's Bloom. What was he? He didn't see it at all. He's now spotted out by Bengi, follows up with the Sonic Wave, and quick tumble over the wall gets him to safety.
Yeah, look, he's still a Talon. I don't think it matters too much when he sees 2 people down bottom. It's perhaps when an Ash Arrow connects onto him that he has no choice but to sit there and take it. There's no guaranteed stuns either from a Lee Sin and from a Talia. You're able to outplay all of it as Talon completely. He's also gone straight tank with his itemization. So Talia's not actually doing a lot of damage to him. And because he's gone for the Black Cleaver, remember that it got changed to give more health than damage. They reduced and added more to the health values. There's hello. Nope.
Clid finds Easyhoon. Hits him with the friendly Cocoon, the friendly hello.
And loses half of his friendly health.
Yeah. I mean, look, sometimes you got to introduce yourself to your neighbors, even if you know they're not nice people.
No, he said hello and then they kicked him in the face.
That's a rough neighborhood.
Yep.
Vici Gaming running a tight ship here. 20 minutes in, they're up by about 2,000 gold and are slowly but surely pushing Qiao Gu over. It seems like Qiao Gu are trying to make plays happen, but are just being summarily dismissed by Vici.
They definitely are, and for what it's worth, you still look at QG's team comp and say they can fight.
Oh,
This
Easy
is
Hoon.
awkward.
Whoa,
Oh my
that
God.
depth charge is
There-
following
yeah,
him.
get him.
There it goes. That was the most dangerous and Michael Bay chase. It would have been better if there was Vi following as well. The sirens going off while Talia just
Wacky
surfs
Races
the wall.
theme song on or something.
It's like Hot Wheels. And now, past the 20-minute mark, that means the vision starts to shift towards that top side of the map, towards that Baron buff. Oh man, Bengi just has Doinby's number. Catches him immediately. And sure, it's a good trade. True max health, true damage is definitely pretty good for Talon, but
You know, funnily enough, that was one of the few times where I commend Doinby for doing exactly what he should be and ask the question about Bengi. Trading a little bit of health doesn't matter when you know Easy Hoon will be winning the 1v1 either way. You can see him right now. Doinby, you want to farm, you're probably going to lose all of your health for this.
yeah, Easy Hoon is just being relentless.
And so you wonder why Bengi firstly shows himself and takes the fight most importantly. Like, you're okay to show yourself, you're okay to look threatening at Doinby, but don't take the fight. Keep full health and then have an impact placing vision around the rest of the map. Don't let Clid spot you if you're half health, because at full health you can take him.
Once again, sweeping out vision on this top side of the map. Looks like the play from Vici Gaming is to set Easy Hoon to take this top tier 1. And it turns out in the extended engage, Easy Hoon is able to do it. Again, he's in form. 80 CS, 70 CS ahead of Doinby, who's going to tumble over the wall
I don't know about
and
this
try
one.
to follow up. He's 1v2 and just gets kicked out. Deceit is
here.
there and misses the concussive blows.
Yeah, they're probably not going to get anything past that point. Doinby is so mobile that he's really the only one that can keep up and catch somebody when they're not even out of position if you're trying to force them to be.
Yeah.
You've actually seen both top laners swap towards the bottom side of the map because at the moment the Baron seems to be the objective they want to get. And, you know,
I think that was Weaver's Wall just used for vision.
yeah.
Ooh.
QG have the inside track to the major purple worm that they oh so love.
Bubbles the Baron.
Also, can we just only when QG plays bubbles?
Okay, yeah.
Let's just make sure we've got that.
All right. Only when Chagu play.
I'll give you that there. Just one team.
But things aren't looking great for Chagu. I mean, yeah, they've got the potential for a 1-3-1, but Doinby, if he's paired up against Easy Hoon, he's going to lose that. If he's paired up against Long, who's starting to build armor, he very well could end up losing that as well.
Yeah, interestingly enough, he doesn't just outright lose because he has to trade health when he does, and I feel like that's where he's going to go wrong, because when he trades his health bar, he'll have someone nearby. Or there's a Shen that can actually change the pace of all of those fights to favor his team all over again. Even if it's just the shield from the Shen the Nautilus can interrupt, he still helps. That's still enough to actually get him over the line, especially against the Talia. Easy Hoon's just going to have a field day, as this is awkward. Do they want to... I was wondering if they wanted to wait for the Scuttle to die before they walked out, or if they were going to do it. They didn't.
It was one of those 50-50s. You never really know. Regardless, Kabe now finds Long, but it looks like Endless is on the way. He's got an arrow ready. Kabe turns around. If he lands the Shadow Dash or just flashes, then Kabe escapes. But now that's Nautilus's flash gone.
And the Shadow Dash should have came out first from Long, to be real, if they want the arrow to connect. It was a good flash from Kabe, but it's not like it's a crazy mechanical outplay of anything at all. He had enough time and reactions to say, oh, look, a giant white arrow. It's coming. Ah, yeah, I'll flash.
It's a giant blue, both literal and figurative arrow pointing at his face.
So the Shen Taunt perhaps could have been used there. May have changed that, or at least maybe got some extra damage on the Nautilus. But again, why are they going for the top laner? Why is the whole team rotating to that side of the map? This time around, it's the Cloud Drake, and so I have an understanding as to why they would look at it. But it's also a Cloud Drake. It doesn't mean anything. Just hanging out.
Yeah, Bengi's trying to start it off right now. Easy Hoon successfully zoning the rest of Chaogu away. Endless starting to burn through, but Clid is there. He's got his smite ready.
QG won it.
And no, Bengi gets it, turns over to Clid and gets some good damage, kicks him into the fight, and he dies on the unraveled earth. There's the Shadow Dash from Long. Doinby tries to get in. He's found the support, but not the priority carry. Alone flashes the wall and quickly turns it around. Doinby manages to get the kill onto Hatong, but that's still the support. Easy Hoon is just firing these shots.
Doinby does get out, but that was actually a big play from Bengi in particular, because he kicked the carry into the rocks that were placed down by EasyHoon. So simple kills. Vici, again, they have the positioning. They force the Cloud Drake, and QG, always with the propensity to fight for these objectives, they're the ones that come up the sore losers, because Vici get more structures, they get the turrets down, they still secure the Drake, and they grow that gold lead even more.
Yeah, this game is falling apart for Qiao. 4,000 gold. Here's that fight again.
So you get to watch the kick here onto Clid. Doesn't outright kill him, but the rocks do. It would have knocked up alone. It would have been even better, perhaps, if the rocks hadn't actually taken him out. But again, good flash and good taunt from Lung. And now Doinby, the saving grace of this team, is able to lock down some kills as he runs away. But it's not enough to actually change the pace of this game. It's still Vici with the gold advantage.
4 turrets to 2 right now and 3 dragons to 0. Vision now shifting towards that top side of the map. EasyHoon is an absolute giant. 2, 0, and 4 on this Talia, and getting bigger and bigger as time goes on. And
I don't have a lot of bad things to say about Deceit, though, while we're looking at QG losing this game. If you're trying to find a point where you'd be blaming them, I wouldn't outright say it was the Braum. You know, this is one of those games where I feel like QG as a team have actually just fallen on their own sword. Like, all this effort top lane, and then Clid going top lane. They're not going bottom. Perhaps they don't trust Deceit enough, or why are they not focusing mid lane when EasyHoon's running rampant? They've just made bad decisions as a team, honestly, and like that's not the kind of thing you always see from QG, but it's showing up right now.
yeah. Seems like we might have our new inconsistent team here in the LPL as Qiao finally returns and they begin to see some of the struggles that old school LGD did. Some days they're on, some days they are off.
Yes, thankfully New School LGD just sucks all the time. So they don't have inconsistency issues, do
we don't
they?
have to worry about that at all now.
They are the most consistent team in our league.
Just not in a good way. Doinby
right,
again
Foster?
shows himself up mid. He mutters under his breath.
Isn't
And
that
ooh,
right?
Arrow catches Deceit. That's a good save. Here comes the flank from EasyHoon. He's trying to force them into a small choke, but Doinby will leap in. That's the redemption. Some good AoE is tossed. Clid turns onto EasyHoon and gets a good damage amount traded.
QG doing well
Endless
here.
has died, and yeah, Qiao with EasyHoon removed from the fight have been able to win the fight. Endless and Hatong go down. Long will follow. Bengi gets caught by the hook, and now they're diving him as well. He dies too. That's 4 people dead. Qiao.
And that was actually really big from Clid, I believe, to prevent the Weaver's Wall being followed from EasyHoon. He has to hop off early. You can see both summoners burnt from him. And as the only member alive of this team, QG, now as a 4-man unit, rush towards the Baron Pit, and they look to start it off.
Yeah, they're clearing out some vision on the backside. Deceit is trying to get something. EasyHoon is racing his way down the mid lane for minions. This is Baron for Qiao.
It should go completely uncontested. Once again, from a deficit, this team will then give themselves a gold advantage. They have the smite, so they're being safe. That's why they're stopping hitting it. And that was actually, I hope we get the replay of that. We do. Because this is big from not just Deceit blocking the arrow onto alone, but watch what Doinby does here at the same time as the Nautilus. Dashes in. It's a redemption firstly that gets them caught, but doesn't run away. Acknowledges that he's got the Nautilus coming in, does damage, and as he comes in, they can't target him because he's already knocking everybody up on the side of Carbe there. And it's just a lone free hitting after this. The Ashari misses. Varus is just free reign all on top of them. And during that, you saw EasyHoon was gone.
Yeah. He's separated from the fight by Clid, who very nearly gave his life to do it, but in keeping him away, has now evened it up in gold. 200 separates the team, and despite the vision from Vici Gaming, that's Baron on all 5 members. Even Doinby, who died, they waited to allow him to respawn. So with this buff, they could finally start answering back in turrets and finally taking the gold lead back in their own hands.
And interestingly enough, another Infernal Drake to be seen in 1 minute and 15 seconds. QG now have the Baron buff, so they should be the ones with advantage around the area. They've already placed their vision well in advance, and that means some more combat stats throughout the duration of this Baron buff. And things may start to go a little bit more downhill for Vici, but it's pretty difficult to see with QG's mod.
Yeah, it really is. They're trying to play the side lane right now. EasyHoon pushes out top lane, so that will shove away, but Qiao now pushing in both mid and bottom look to pull Vici apart. Alone and Kabe lead the charge onto the tier 2 as Doinby eats a lot of damage, but he's fine. If he can keep EasyHoon away from the minions, away from the rest of his team, they could try to take a fight. Hatong gets bursted. Bangi eats a Sonic Wave as Long tries to back away, but EasyHoon and Endless are still alive. They're firing shots into the back, and they manage to catch EasyHoon. Hizangas to stall this out. Alone walks into the face of the Taliyah. He turns on the Endless, and they clean up the fight. And ace for Qiao.
And none of them are dead somehow. QG may have just had enough to win the game outright.
Are they actually going to push on to end this right now, despite being at a deficit? They clear out this turret, they clear out the inhibitor, and with the minion wave, they turn on to the Nexus turrets. Number 1 will fall, number 2 drops immediately afterwards, and 31 minutes in, from 5,000 gold down, Qiao take the game in a swift 2-minute victory.
I know how much Raz wanted to talk about it, but the Banner of Command didn't even matter in this game. He had picked it up, but it didn't make a difference because they get a Baron buff after a single team fight, and they actually just win the game in one swift motion.
That venomous look from Long, oh man. They had control of that game. They had side lanes, they had dragons, they had turrets, and then Qiao said, yeah, but we've got the team fights.
And what was a very promising early game from Vici honestly just goes the opposite to what you would expect at mid-game.
Look at that gold drop, a 9,000 gold swap. Now here swapping to the desk with us is Raz.
Oh, hey, what a game was that? And you know what? He was even going towards the Zerat's portal. This man is a madman. This guy could not stop. Of course, as you mentioned, it didn't matter because Vici fell through. That was the fastest drop I've ever seen. And they weren't even at a party. That was ridiculous. And as you can see, like the damage at this point, I would usually talk, hashtag Team Taliyah and say, hey, look at the damage Taliyah has done, but it amounted to nothing because, yeah, that was incredible team fighting coming out of Qiao to really retake the game and take that Baron. That was phenomenal coming out of it. And I think just to start it off, because even you mentioned it throughout the game, Qiao was forcing that top side so much towards Shen. Time and time again, it was just kind of biting them, even to a point where they were moving Talon away from the side lane and Taliyah was starting to split push. That should never happen. In fact, they have a great composition to put Talon in the side lane and to really force them in a really Vici in a really difficult position. And it showcases in this replay coming up that it really bit them because Vici, they were able to take a fight, and this was a fight that Qiao started. In fact, Vici didn't even have Bengi with him. Bengi was too busy taking that dragon, but it didn't matter. Ashe had Shen by her side, had the ulti following up, and Taliyah, who was of course in the side lane, while Talon now just kind of cleaning up the bits, is able to join this fight, able to clean it all up. And that was really, really well done coming out of Vici because they were just playing a patient game. 2 minutes before that play, it was just Vici being able to just play to side lanes, get a bot lane turret, stop that top lane dive that was just being forced way too heavily. And so from that point forward, it was a Vici book through and through. It was only problematic, only a problem. When that one team fight, and that's the second replay coming in, 28 minutes. Yeah, this is a little ridiculous because this looked good for Vici. They were setting it up on Doinby, and so the problem from this point is when it kind of looks like the first replay. Taliyah comes flying in. Here is Clid A stopping Taliyah from coming in to begin with. Even just a little bit before that, it was also the Braum completely saving that play with the shield. And then from that point forward, you could even see it in front of your face. That's Varus ulti timing in. So that was a great counterplay, a great team fight coming out of Qiao, where everybody knew their role and how to play it. And so that's just aces to Deceit, who was the new support coming in, able to start that off perfectly, and they get the Baron from that point forward, and they're able to come out with a win.
Yeah, so that has to beg us a very interesting question for Qiao. Is this a cat lazily playing with its food for 28 minutes, or is this Qiao struggling and not finding their own path to success and then finding it?
They are struggling.
Okay.
They're on that street right now. They should not have won that game, not at all. It was a great play and team fight, and of course, just before last week, we were still criticizing Vici for their team fighting. This is another example where, of course, Qiao, they play towards team fight to a fault. But this one, it was a big success to them, and Kabe is able to take it out with the MVP.
I mean, he got a lot of attention from Clid to set him up, but the biggest thing is he wasn't just set up, he knocked it down. So at the end of the day, the teleports are always good from this member. I think the team fighting was immaculate from QG. And whilst I agree with you, at the end of the day, Vici had the win. They threw the win away. It still came down to a fantastic team fight from QG.
Yeah.
Clid being able to 1v1 EasyHoon on the side. Yes, that's EasyHoon actually being obsessed with the weave as well to lock somebody off. He didn't need to go all of that way and then flash into 1v1 Clid. He should be with his team so that he is a position of power, but he became a little bit too obsessed, I think, with hitting the flank.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, EasyHoon is huge for the success of Vici game in general. We spoke about his Vladimir when he's able to get a successful flank, when his team is supporting him, according to the theory of the team. This is a team built around EasyHoon, the late game mage carry, but just pulling him out from the fight and removing the remaining struts means that that support center of EasyHoon, that candy kernel, ends up cracking open.
Yeah, and this is a point where we should overreact to say, because that was still a great game one from Vici, even though they really fell through from that point. I think Vici going into the next game, they should just be play towards the same composition. Depends, like they should come in with the same mindset. Really, just understand that the team fight went downhill. Analyze why that team fight went downhill. Was it the communication, or was it just understanding of what their role was supposed to be? You mentioned how EasyHoon was playing towards it, and maybe he should be with his team. It's almost as simple as that. Otherwise, they lost the game because of that one misplay and into the Baron.
Yeah, either that or playing slowly around their mid lane, actually letting him flank before starting fights off. I feel like it's a little bit too rushed from them.
Yeah, well, we'll see if Vici Gaming can slow things down even more to find success, or if it's going to be Qiao that takes the series 2-0. We're going to be right back with that game.